Hey guys, STLYoungblood with you, and what I want to do today is actually talk to you all a little bit about signatures. And I'm talking about the signatures that your ship puts off and how that's going to impact gameplay and how you're going to be able to pick this stuff up from enemies. Now this is going to just be a real quick introduction to this because I think there's a lot of testing to be done, and it's going to be interesting to see what they actually end up doing with this and how it's going to impact things like missiles and different types of radars, and it's obviously going to have a bigger impact in the persistent universe. But let's just get down to it. And what I'm actually talking about here is you've got two different little sensors, and I'm in the Mustang Delta in case you were wondering. Off here to the left, you can notice a little scale and a number here. That's your EM signature. Right now I'm sitting at about 335. And on the right side, I've got the IR signature sitting at about 395. Well, 394. You can see as I'm just sitting here and not doing anything, they're both pretty stagnant. There's not really a whole lot going on, but watch as I kind of fly around a little bit. As I add thrust, you'll notice the IR signature tends to jump around a little bit. When I start firing weapons, you're going to notice that the EM signature jumps around quite a bit. So there's different things that impact different systems. So let me point something dark so you can see this stuff a little bit better. And we're letting it level out a little bit. Now, getting back to these original numbers, you can see here EM 335. What we're going to notice is EM signatures are going to be impacted by things like weapons, like shields, countermeasures, those types of things. Your IR signature is going to be impacted by things that produce more heat. So think about like your engine, your thrusters, those types of things. So let's go ahead and just start turning crap off and see the impact it has. You know, we got some bulldogs under the wings on the Delta. Turn that off. All of a sudden we drop down to 310. Turn off the other one. We're down to 285. Get rid of those bearing laser cannons, and now we're down to about 265. Rocket pods, okay, let's get rid of those too. And now we're down to about 260. So not a huge impact there, but you can notice that by turning those off, there's no impact on the IR signature whatsoever. Now, if we come over to power management, we can again see that all the weapons are turned off. But what happens when we turn off countermeasures? We're at about 260 right now. Countermeasures off. Now we're down to about 240. So the more systems we turn off, the more impact we're seeing on the signature that you're putting out. Now, keep in mind, everything that you're turning off means less signature, which means it's harder for people to actually pick you up via their radar. Now, the one that's interesting here is your shields. Now, right here, your shields are just idle. They're not charging, they're not off, they're just kind of on, they're steady. So this is kind of the, we'll call it the idle tier, and we're at about 240. Now, to get to the lowest EM, we have to actually turn them off, and all of a sudden it drops all the way down to 165. That's pretty significant. Now, flying around without shields is obviously a bit dangerous, considering if you hit something, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. But that's going to be your lowest overall. Now, where this gets interesting is once we turn this back on, your shields have to charge. As they're charging, they're putting out more signature than any other time. So watch it spike. 310, 315, 325, 335, 345, and I think I saw 350 something in there. And then it goes back down to that idle level. The shields are charged again, and now we're back to that 240 that we saw before. So let's go ahead and just turn that off. Let's make it as quiet as possible. And let's go ahead and start looking. And I guess let me go ahead and just demonstrate real quick. I'm pulling the trigger, nothing's happening. I'm trying to fire missiles, trying to fire the nose guns, nothing's happening. So those are all out of order right now. They're off. I'm trying to fire countermeasures, nothing. So let's go ahead and start playing around with the, real quick, let me show you. Thrusters are still available. You know, I can still strafe, move forward. I've got all that stuff available to me. So let's come to a stop. And now let's play with the IR stuff. Now you notice there's a little spike here, and that's because I was moving. When your thrusters are actually, are exerting themselves, they're putting out heat to propel you. That's when you're going to be as hot as possible. But now we're kind of back at that baseline 395. So what's the main culprit here? And the main culprit for your heat output is all those thrusters that you've got. We just turned those off, and all of a sudden our IR drops down all the way down to 155. That's a crazy difference. Now let's go ahead and turn off our primary engines, and obviously they're not doing anything right now, but it drops even further down to about 74, 75. Now, just to show you what's going on, I'm going to go ahead and get back into flight mode. You can notice on the left side of my HUD the throttle. It's kind of reflecting. I'm at 100% right now. Ship's not moving. I'm trying to roll. You might be able to hear my joystick. It's not doing anything. So everything is turned off right now. Now, there's some interesting things here, and let me just at least turn these on so I can fly around while I talk to you guys. There's some interesting things to keep in mind. You know, for example, all these big things that are floating around, you know, the asteroids, the debris, all of this stuff has an impact on your signature, how easy it is for people to pick you up. I'm sure you've noticed when you're playing Battle Royale, if you're flying at somebody and they're a long way, sometimes you're going to lose them. You know, their signature is going to break up. I can't tell you how many times I've been tracking a target and I see them, then I don't, and then I see them, and then I don't. And it's because they're traveling behind asteroids, and line of sight is an important thing when it comes to this signature and how you're actually detecting people. You know, range has an impact too. You know, if you're really close to somebody, a lot of times you're still able to keep track of them on the other side of an asteroid. If you're really far away, though, those sort of things are going to be kind of exaggerating circumstances. They're going to make things either better or worse for you, depending on which side of the coin you're on. Now, it's worth noting that the maps that we have right now are pretty small. I mean, they're bigger than they were, but they're overall pretty small, especially when we consider something like the persistent universe. So when we're talking about the signatures, people are firing, they're flying, their shields are recharging. Everybody is flying hot. I mean, everybody. They're putting out a lot of heat. They're putting out a lot of EM signatures, and it's easy to start picking up people. Now, when we get into the persistent universe, and maybe not everybody's in combat all the time, and maybe people are running cargo missions, or maybe people are coming from further away, I think we're going to start seeing things like these signatures having a bigger impact overall. You know, and I think there's other interesting things, and I think viability of controlling this is going to be something that's going to be really important. I'm going to be doing a lot of testing with this over the next couple days in Arena Commander, so there's definitely going to be a part 2 on this, and I don't know if I'm going to end up needing to rely on, you know, voice attack or macros or something to be able to turn all this off, but there's going to be some tweaking and playing to see how this is actually usable. You know, I think in an ideal world, maybe you're flying a missile lock. Maybe you dive behind an asteroid, turn off all your systems, go cold. Maybe that missile has a harder time picking you up. I don't know if that's something that's in the game now or something they're going to implement, but I'm going to try it and see if there's different things that we can do that might kind of, you know, be interesting or enlightening and kind of shine some, you know, light on what we can actually do. Now, there was one thing that I found that was interesting, and it's a courtesy of space. Space, you maintain your momentum. So let's go ahead and take this thing all the way up to, and not point at an asteroid ideally, 200 top speed. Let's go ahead and turn off our engines and thrusters. And notice, we're maintaining our top speed of 200, but look at to the right, our IR signature, 74. We're cold. We're sneaking up on people. You know, I think in the beginning of an Arena Commander match, this might be a nice way to get a jump on other ships. Again, I don't know how much of an impact it's going to have, but it sure as hell something I'm going to try, and something, if nothing else, might give me a, you know, a little bit of enjoyment because it's kind of fun and goofy to actually do. Now, the last thing I want to talk about real quick is, you know, there's a couple ships that I think are noteworthy to talk about. And I'm going to put a link to a you know, a discussion on this that's kind of got some of the signatures all laid out for a bunch of different ships. Right now, the hottest ship, the loudest ship, I guess, if you're talking about just all the different signals, is the Super Hornet. I mean, the thing is, whether it's idle, whether it's flying, whether it's shooting all of its weapons, the thing is noisy. I mean, I would expect to be able to pick up a Super Hornet just about anywhere based on the noise and signal it's actually putting out. Now, the quietest ship right now is in the same family. That's going to be the Hornet Ghost. It is quiet. Whether it does a really, really good job with you know, the IR signatures, but even the EM stays pretty low. The Delta is kind of the same way. You know, we see it doing. You know, it appears the real benefit on the Delta comes with the IR. Now, it's not as significant of a decrease, and I don't know how many of you guys knew this, but the Delta is supposed to have special, like, stealthy armor on it too. You know, and it's not quite as stealthy when we start talking about the electromagnetic signature, but as far as the IR, it is really pretty strong. And then the last one that I thought was noteworthy was the Avenger was way better than I expected it to be. And I think there's a lot about the Avenger right now. It's kind of a work in progress. We think, you know, it's not supposed to have the mass working for it. You know, there's a lot of things that I think are just not finished with the Avenger. I wasn't under the impression that it was supposed to be a quiet ship. I thought it was supposed to be kind of a powerful ship, big engine, big guns. To me, those sort of things don't scream subtlety as far as their signature goes. Now, I could be wrong. You know, sucker punches on the wings to disable. Maybe it's to its benefit, especially for a bounty hunter, to be able to sneak up on something. But I just don't think that's what its intention was. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that increase. So I want you guys to stay tuned. Hopefully within the next couple days, I'm going to have some time to actually test this out in Arena Commander and see how effective some of this is and if it actually makes a lick of difference. And hopefully I'll be able to get some of my org mates on to kind of help test some of this too. Other than that, speaking of org mates, I just wanted to put a note out there. Planet Express is recruiting. I'm going to put a link in the description to this video. You know, we pretty much accept anybody that is not a pirate, trying to watch the reputation. But if you're looking for a 400 plus or a 400 person organization with a lot of good people and a lot of friendly faces, we are recruiting. So if you have questions about this or if you discovered anything really cool, let me know. Otherwise, stay tuned. I'm going to have a follow-up video on this as soon as possible. And have yourselves a wonderful day. I'm going to crash this bitch. I feel like this is Independence Day. Dennis Quaid! Or is it Randy Quaid? I don't know, whatever. Take care, guys.